What's up, guys? This is Coach Grant with First Down Training, and today we're going to be breaking down some Kansas City Chiefs wide receiver versus DB one-on-ones from their 2023 training camp. So I hope this video helps you guys out. Hope it could teach you a few new things. But also, fellas, if you are a wide receiver and would like a daily training schedule that you can follow with over 500 plus wide receiver drills and gym exercises, check out that very first link in the description below for our ultimate 8-week wide receiver workout plan. It's a 2-month daily workout schedule. We give you the exact sets and reps, examples of each drill and exercise, all designed for wide receivers to take their skills to the next level. So check out that very first link in the description below if you're interested in that, fellas. Let's get started with this video. So this first clip here is going to be from Sky Moore. Now, I think he has some great one-on-ones clips that we're going to be looking at in this video, and this is him running a slant route versus an inside shade press coverage DB. So let's play this thing full speed, then we'll break it down. So this is a great example of a press release called a diamond release. So a diamond release, the reason why they call it a diamond release, because like if you were drawing a diamond on a piece of paper, you start out with like a 45-degree angle, right? Now maybe that's not the best diamond, but you see how that 45-degree angle to start it, right? So that's what you were trying to essentially do off the line of scrimmage. You were trying to take off at this 45-degree angle. The goal is to get this DB to flip his hips open to the fade so you could slip back underneath and win on the slant. Now, a lot of wide receivers are very hesitant on this release because when they take off to the outside, you see how this wide receiver opens up completely, or this DB. Now, a lot of times wide receivers will do this release and this DB stays patient to the inside. How is Sky Moore able to get him to open up? And that's what I want to talk about here. So let's start this video, or let's rewind this for a sec. So let's talk about why he decides to do this release first, right? Because if you come up to the line of scrimmage, there's two specific things that you're looking for in a DB. The first one is going to be his leverage. And by leverage, I mean like his shade. Is he shaded to the inside of you? Is he lined up right in front of your face? Or is he shaded to the outside? And that shade tells us a lot about his coverage. So he's lined up inside shade in this specific example. Now, the second thing that you're looking for is the distance between you and him. Is he right up on the line of scrimmage? Is he maybe 2 to 3 yards away? What's his leverage and what's his distance? And that was what tells us what release I should use and how I should structure my plan off the line. Now, the plan that you come up with off the line of scrimmage isn't always going to work perfectly and exactly to plan. We're going to show some examples later on in this video where a wide receiver comes off the ball and he has to react to how a DB plays. Because a DB may disguise a coverage, disguise something that he's trying to do, and we have to be prepared for it. Now, in this case, his idea is like, okay, this DB's inside shade. We know by his leverage, he's trying to take away the inside and force Sky Moore to the outside. Force him to the sideline, make him run out of bounds, run as close to the sideline as he can if he has a vertical route, because the sideline is his help. We know all of that just because of his leverage, or at least we're thinking, we have an idea of that's what he's trying to do. So a lot of times, like if you were running like a dig, or let's say like a post, like a deeper route, like 10 yards, 8 yards, whatever it is, your game plan would be, okay, I'm going to attack him inside, try to get him to hold to the inside and take the outside release. My goal is to try to stack him over the top and then break. Any inside breaking route versus inside shade press, you should get very comfortable taking the outside release. We can't try to just come off the ball, give him this great fake to the outside and force an inside release, because this DB is going to keep his leverage, stay patient, and reroute us, get hands, do everything he's supposed to do versus inside leverage. And in press, disrupt timing and disrupt spacing. So you got to get comfortable taking what he gives us. Now, since he's running a slant, and it's like a 3-step quick slant, we obviously don't have enough space or enough time to stack over the top of him. So that's why we go with this diamond release. Our goal is to get him to think we are running a fade. So he gives him this little jab inside, and he's taking 3 hard steps at his outside shoulder. So that's 1, 2, 3. Now, again, everybody is always afraid that this DB is not going to open up the gate. Your mindset as a wide receiver should not be, well, what if he doesn't open up? Your mindset should be, I'm going to make him open up. And you make this DB open up by 3 things on this diamond release. You have to sell the fade. And by selling fade, you have to run hard. You see Sky Moore, when he comes off this release, there's a burst of speed to the outside. Another thing that he has, he's not taking choppy steps. A lot of wide receivers will attack this DB to the inside, and then when they burst up vertical, they're not running in full stride. They take these choppy steps. They don't gain any ground. That DB's not threatened by the fade. But if you guys can run hard, you guys can open up the stride length, and you have good body language, that is going to get this DB to think fade. He has to. He has to make a decision. Either sit to the inside and let him run the fade, or open up and play the fade. And if we can be a salesman, that is what's going to get him to open up. And you see Sky Moore, when he bursts up to the outside, look what he does with his head here. This subtle like tuck of the chin, putting his head down, accelerating. He's got a low pad level position. His chest is slightly ahead of his waist. All of those things tie into this, fellas. and that is what's going to make that DB open up those hips and slip underneath. So this is a great example of a diamond release. That's the best way to run a slant route versus that inside shade press coverage look. So now, next example here, like I said, there are not always going to be situations where DBs come up to the line of scrimmage and show you exactly what they're going to do. They might be trying to disguise a coverage. They might do something different. They might play it completely different than you thought. And as a wide receiver, we have to be able to react to that situation. So Sky Moore is going to be running this like 10 to 12 yard dig here. So let's watch what he does. Now, let's talk about the DB's coverage for a second. He's lined up head up press, maybe about 2 yards away from Moore here. So he's head up 2 yards away. So he's not showing a leverage. He's not inside leverage. He's not outside leverage. He's just right up in front of us. So that means he could do one of three things. So let's play this clip and then we'll break it down. So Moore comes up, gives a little crossover fake to the outside, takes the inside release, gets skinny, and then wins on this dig route. So let's talk about it, right? Anytime that you have a DB with some space between you, you have to do what? You have to close that space. You never want to try to run around a DB. Because on like a dig, like a 10-yard dig, 10-yard in, ideally, we would love an inside release, right? Because that's easy. You don't want to take an outside release versus like inside shade press. You will if you have to, but it's uncomfortable, right? And I think every wide receiver can attest to that. But if he's 2 yards off and he's head up, we don't know what he's going to do. So what we have to do is we have to close the distance, but we have to be able to react. At this point, we are gathering info on him. We are seeing how he is going to play. So when I go attack him, when I close the space, if he shades to the inside, what can you do? You give him a little jab inside, take the outside release. We react. We don't know what shade he has pre-snap. We close the space, he shades in, we react and go outside. Let's say he shades to the outside. Bam, we put the brakes on, we take the inside release. Now the other option is he just sits there and stays head up. So if he just stays head up, you just got to pick the direction to go. And the direction I recommend, not saying this is how you have to run the route, would be an inside release because on a dig is easier with an inside release. So Moore, he closes space. He sees that the DB is just squared up, not going to move, gives him this crossover fake to the outside, selling with his hips, selling with his shoulders, because you know in press coverage, a DB is supposed to be watching what? Supposed to be watching a wide receiver's hips. So anytime that you're throwing this like crossover move, a reaction move, you got to sell with your hips. I tell my wide receivers, try to turn your belly button to the sideline while keeping your toe pointed forward and staying in a positive shin angle. So you could drive off of this, take that inside release and go. Now, in a real game situation, if you take an inside release on a route, usually you have other wide receivers running routes. You may have a safety to the inside. They call it safety help. So if you just take off on this dig route and you just run right to the inside and break and you round this thing off, you see so many young wide receivers do that in one-on-ones. You're running right into other receivers or you're running into other defenders. The spacing of the play is off. You can't run a dig route right next to my slot receiver running like a spot route because a middle linebacker or outside backer could cover both routes, guys. You have to do something called getting skinny. So he takes this inside release, and you see how he's going hip to hip with the DB. He is getting into his frame. Sky Moore is not the biggest dude in the world, but he's using his leverage. He's using this route because the DB doesn't know what he's running at the end of the day. So you have an advantage. Let's use that. Let's get into his frame. He breaks this thing off, and now he's got some room before the next defender, before another receiver running a route. And I know it's one-on-ones, but you have to practice how you play. And this is as textbook as it gets. We're going to show Sky Moore do this on the opposite way on an out route in a second, but it's more of a predetermined release, I guess you could say. So let's play this full speed one more time. Great job by Moore, closing space, reacting, throwing that crossover, and then breaking off to the inside. So now, next example here is going to be Sky Moore again and again. This guy's got some great tape. I suggest all of you look up the Chiefs like one-on-ones clips from training camp because he's got some really great routes, some really great plays. And you see the difference between him and a lot of the other receivers that they have. Not saying that the other receivers aren't very talented because they're NFL guys, but when there's that much of a difference in NFL guys are at the top of their game, it's very, very impressive to watch. So pre-snap, let's talk about what we're looking for. So we're looking for the leverage of the DB. What does he have right here? He's shaded to the inside. Is he right up on the line or is he maybe about 2 yards off? Since Sky Moore's off the ball, but he's pretty much right up on the line of scrimmage, we have maybe about a yard of room. So we have a yard of room to operate, right? So let's watch what Sky Moore does here. So he comes off the ball, he attacks the DB inside, closes the space, gets skinny, and breaks on an out route. So let's talk about it, right? Very similar to that dig route, except now he's releasing. Well, yeah, actually it is. It's very similar because he's releasing to the side of the break. It's just now, instead of this DB being head up, he's inside shade. So remember, DB's lined up inside shade for a reason. Take away the inside, force the wide receiver to the sideline. So the mistake that a lot of wide receivers make, and you would think, I'm hoping that the guys who watch this channel regularly are guys who would never do this, but you see it time and time again. Receivers get a little anxious. They see a DB who's inside shade. They have to run an outside breaking route, and they'll just take off and go run the route. You got to understand that's exactly what the DB wants you to do. You just take off and run to the outside. He's going to get hands on your hip. If you break this thing off and you don't get a ton of separation, he's going to be right on your hip with not that much room for the quarterback. On any outside breaking route, an out route, a comeback, I would consider a fade an outside breaking route, a corner. You got to give the quarterback room. He needs room to fade you out. So off the line of scrimmage, you got to attack this DB. You got to make him think that you are running an inside breaking route. Because remember, his whole purpose is to not give up the inside breaking route. We want to make him think, okay, I'm going to attack you to the inside. I'm going to just run and cross your face. So you got to sell with your hips, sell with your shoulders. You got to close the distance. Try to step on this DB's toes and make him uncomfortable. So now I take that outside release. Now, again, this is where DBs go wrong. Or why wide receivers go wrong, They'll do that, and then they just run away from the DB and break, cutting down the field space for the QB. When you guys take that outside release on an outside breaking route, what do you think you want to do? You want to run right into this DB. You want to get hip to hip. If he's right on your hip, you want to use your body and you want to lean into him until you get to that break point. So you have room for the quarterback. Let's not sacrifice any spacing on the route. If we attack him inside, I want to get skinny. I want to run as close as I possibly can to that DB to create that space. So let's play this again, full speed one more time. Great example of how you guys can run a 10-yard out route versus this inside shade press coverage look and create separation. All right, fellas, I really want to thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. If you have any questions at all, don't hesitate to leave those in the comment section below. Always appreciate the feedback. It's always great to hear from you guys. And again, fellas, if you would like an 8-week wide receiver on-field and gym workout schedule to follow, everything wide receivers should be doing to improve their skills, check out that very first link in the description below. We'd love to get you on that, fellas. I'll see you guys next time.